Well, hello all you wonderful people out there in YouTube land, and welcome to the Texas Special YouTube channel. As promised, we have this gorgeous MTH number 30-7001 Wabash Railking 250-ton crane and boom car. So this is actually from a 6-car Railking freight car pack that MTH offered. Don't have the rest of the cars. This is from that large lot of trains that Mr. Ethan Tate of the Texas Model Railroad Club purchased a couple of years ago, and they were kept in less than ideal conditions. So we will start off with the boom car, and we will take a look at the crane itself here momentarily. Now, this boom car is rated for, both the boom car and the tender are rated for 027 curves. So you can run these on anything. Any commercially available O-gauge track these will run on. If you're unfamiliar with the hobby, or if you're unfamiliar with O-gauge trains, or you're just starting out with the hobby, us three railers, we're weird. The two rail guys all like to use radius to measure curvature. O-gauge guys, we like to measure, specifically three rail O-gauge guys, we like to use diameter. So 027 means that both of these cars will be able to handle curves as tight as a 27-inch diameter circle of track. In two rail terms, that means that these cars are capable of operating on 13.5-inch radius curves. So, moving on from the technical aspect of it, we have the boom car first. You have some really nice wood plank detailing, and of course you have the metal bracing. Now, the metal bracing detailing could have been done probably a little bit better with regard to, a little bit more in the way of bolts where the braces meet. You do have this Wabash herald. The little slogan here above the flag is not really legible, and the Wabash is barely discernible. You really have to know what you're looking at to be able to see this. So I'm not sure if that is from the factory like that, or if it's a consequence of how this thing was treated by a previous owner. You have the stake pockets here on the side of the flat car portion of the car, where the bracing is all, tied into, which in the real world, a lot of these maintenance of way boom cars were actually just flat cars they were older flat cars that were repurposed into this, which is the same with a lot of maintenance of way equipment. They were either old flat cars or old gondolas or old box cars that got repurposed into dedicated non-revenue service because they were old, they were obsolete. The railroad felt that they were no longer needed or were, obsolete. You have these cast-on grab irons here and here, as well as another one right here. You can see the separately applied handbrake here. The car, which frustrates me a little bit because all the way into the early 2000s, Lionel on their lower end rolling stock put friction bearing trucks, and this is a car that would not have had friction bearing trucks. This is a car that would have had, this is a car that would have had friction bearing trucks, but yet it has 100-ton roller bearing style trucks. They are sprung rather. You have nice wood planking detailing here on the little on the toolboxes on the B end of the boom car. Looking at the top of the car, you can see that there is some fairly decent detailing with regard to the wood decking. You have all the little individual hatches of the toolbox bends. Nice wood plank detailing and bolt detailing on the roof of the cabin of the boom car. The smoke jack, of course, non-operational, and the separately applied three-piece brakeman's walkway along the top of the cabin of the boom car. Looking at the rear of the cabin on the boom car, you see we have a magnetic operating knuckle coupler. You've got these polling pockets here on the frame, which are correct. A cast-on door, more of the same with regard to the wood plank detailing, and you have a full height ladder made from cast-on grab irons all the way up. Now, regrettably, this car never did have any stirrup steps on any of the corners of the car. That's the only thing that it is really missing, at least to my eye anyway. Looking at the B end of the car, magnetic thumbtack style knuckle coupler, handbrake, of course the polling pockets, and you can see a little better. You have a full height ladder here, another cast-on door on the front of the cabin, and more of the wood plank detailing all the way across. Now, on the bottom of the car, you have the same detailing you would expect from a Lionel 027 type freight car, which that's basically what this is. This is the MTH equivalent of an 027, of a Lionel traditional 027 freight car. You have some scant detailing, rivet detailing along the underframe. You know, it's not really a whole lot going on under here. The most prominent thing you'll notice is these pickup rollers. The interior cabin, as I mentioned, has interior lighting, so that's a plus we're going to get to look at. You'll also notice there are some screws here, 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 and here. Those hold the toolbox. Those hold the details above the car in place, and there's a couple of screws here and here. Those hold the cabin body on the car. So with that done, let's check out the star of this show. This crane does operate. Now, it came with, originally in the original packaging, it came with a key, a hex head type key. Now, given that this is O gauge, that means that the screw head, the hex head, is fairly large, so it's not that difficult to find an alternative to that hex head. So we'll go ahead and demonstrate this thing operating. Now, it does need a little encouragement. So this little screw here on the side of the operator cabin operates the main hook. So rotating clockwise is supposed to lower the hook, and rotating counterclockwise raises the hook. If we rotate this thing around, which it's kind of stiff, that reveals the hex head on the other side, which raises and lowers the boom itself. So it works, not properly. It needs some TLC, but it does work. We'll rotate this back around. And look at some of the details of the car. So to start, you have this real thick, heavy-duty frame. This real, just insanely thick, heavy-duty steel frame. That was done for two reasons. Number one, obviously, structural support. This crane is based on a 250-ton crane design. So for this thing to lift a lot of weight, it's had to be able to support a lot of weight. And number two, obviously, to be able to lift a lot of weight and support a lot of weight, it had to be able to counterbalance a lot of weight. So you make this thing as heavy as you possibly can. One of the ways to achieve both ends, obviously, is throw a crap ton of metal on the frame upon which this is built. You have these stirrup steps all the way around on both sides of the car. You have this, I believe, yes, that's a cast on stabilizer foot that would retract down to stabilize the crane when it was, lifting. You have these separately applied metal grab irons beside the cabin doors on both sides of the cabin, operator cabin. You have this little hatch here. I'm not sure what that was for. The maintenance of way 1037, weight 26000. Wabash. You have the Wabash Herald following the flag. So, and you also have the build and inspection data here. Some cast on grab irons. So roughly everything that's supposed to be there is there. You have these 100-ton roller bearing trucks, which on the prototype, for this to be 100% correct, it's my understanding that this would have had multiple sets of trucks, not just the standard 2-truck configuration. But I digress. Looking at the underside of this thing, you see that there is some fairly decent detailing. You have the magnetic thumbtack type operating knuckle couplers, truck mounted of course. You have the brake rigging detailing. You have the little plank, the underside of the floor, and you have some of the frame detailing. You can see the brake valve there. I don't really see any of the other specific air brake components with regard to the cylinder and the emergency and service reservoir, but like I said, you do have brake rigging and just a bunch of plank detailing. Looking at the top of this, you see of course the inside of the housing where all the gears are, the non-operating smoke jack, and you have some decent rivet detailing between the individual body panels of the roof. And you can kind of sort of see how the lines, the thread for the cables are laid out, and as you can see, there's a couple that are off the pulleys, which, I mean, is what it is. This car wasn't stored anywhere near how it should have been, so there is that. Looking at the front, we'll call this the front of the car. You can see that there's some cast on grab irons here and here and here and here, and you have a bunch of rivet detailing. You have these little windows here so that the crane operator can see what he's doing, and of course this gigantic boom extending out in front of the crane. And the rear of the cabin, you see this piping detail here, this little ductwork detail here. Of course, more rivet detailing and cast on grab irons. No polling pockets on any corners of this car. You have a big door here, full height ladder made from cast on grab irons, some hinges for the door, and these are where counterweights would have been attached for additional, to get the full 250 ton weight lifting capacity. Now I have the Southern Pacific Atlantic on the railroad, and we're going to fire that bad boy up and send this thing around main track number 1 on the South Texas Railroad. Now, given that this thing is rated for 027, the 072 curves on the South Texas Railroad should be a nice easy walk in the park for this thing. And when I fire it up, you will be able to see the lights on the cabin come on. As a matter of fact, I'll do that right now. So there we go, as promised, interior lighting on the cabin of the boom car